Okay, welcome back to Blueberry Wolf Bridge, no intro RPG, where hopefully we will have better audio than last time. Last time, I will self assess that in an effort to improve each time. Taking a look at last video that we did on Grey Army Gaming's ultra minimalist Firepit solo RPG engine, I would come up with two main critiques of my performance of last video. A link is available in the description box below. It was a bit Zoftic at over an hour long. I know that videos are supposed to be tight, get that attention, get in there, get in, get out, do what you got to do. We say hello to Genocide in the live chat. Um, and The audio sucked. The audio levels were far too low. I think it had to do with me hitting echo cancellation. Hopefully, the audio is better this time, and I'll self-assess and know that the main thing that we're going to do to improve the length of the video this time is I'm going to not engage with the live chat as much. So, though I say hello to Jonaside first in the live chat, and I may say hello to a couple of people that come in, during this intro phase, we're going to keep this intro phase tight so as not to, you know, bloviate in excess, and hopefully in that way not break what apparently is some sort of cardinal rule on YouTube and not make videos in excess of 20 minutes. Folks, my average videos are like an hour, 3 hours long. So I know that like a ton of the things that I've said that I think are the most important things I've ever said on YouTube have probably been heard by either no one or a group of concerned fans, friends, concerned onlookers who go, he could make it. He could do he's just gotta stay focused, and what is he talking about now? No one has seen that movie. What? Caddyshack 2? Come on. Sand duners? Is that even a thing? What? Okay. So as not to commit the sin I said I was not going to commit, what I'm gonna try and do is do what we did last time, but better. Uh yeah, just that. So Matthew over at Grey Army Gaming has this Fire Pit solo RPG engine that we talked about last time, fairly at length. He's done two videos on it where I think he's coming to grips with the space between his enthusiasm for the engine and what may be some things that may be left out of it. And I think he's come to terms with the fact that this may not be a beginner solo engine, but it is so minimalist that it may be for the experts. And I think it's I don't know whether uh, it's implicit or if it's just been left out and it just hasn't been said. It hasn't been addressed whether or not this is merely an oracle system or whether or not it is Matthew's messaging, because Matthew in his first video and his second video has been rather exact in his wording that this solo engine consisting of just two parts. Number one, a framework of laying out in almost a journalistic framework of the who, what, where, when, how, and the foe of our setting. That being part one, the quote unquote stones of the fire pit. And then the simple D6 based yes, no, laddered success um, engine of determining success or failure to, lesser or greater degrees. That being the quote unquote fire, that these two elements is the system in its entirety. Now, it took me a while, you know, to because he's been so kind of emphatic about it, to pose myself the question to say, hey, does he intend for people to use this with other given systems? Like this is just the oracle that you're going to use while you run Troika solo. You're using you've got your core system that you want to run solo, your Troika, your classic basic Dragons like the Rule Cyclopedia, your 5th edition D&D, but you need a Oracle, a solo RPG system to slide in and act as the missing piece, the DM. Now, I took for granted, based on the emphasis that Matthew was constantly using, that no, that he was clear in his messaging that you did not need any additional systems whatsoever, that the fire pit itself could function entirely as the solo RPG experience and engine in toto. And I, for one, don't think that he's wrong, if that was the point that he was making. But I could tell you, I am like a solo RPG guy. Do you know what I mean? You know, like give yourself a challenge. You know what I mean? Like, so, play anything. And some people are less inclined to be that way. I am prep is play. Reading the book is being a solo RPG experience. And there's some people that are like, no, the solo TTRPG experience is a TTRPG analog experience with everything except the other players and DM in the room. And anything less is some sort of bizarre abstraction of, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So whether it was Grey Army Gaming's intention or not, I'm going to go forward with the work that we've built up in our session one, our first video, and say that I don't believe that you need any other mechanics to make the system as is work, but I will also concede that I have other materials that I'm using. I have these quote unquote spells from my own meta RPG, solo RPG, note taking, spellcraft making experience that I used to fill in the who, what, where, when, why, how, foe aspects of the fire pit. And I have those additional notes to work with as far as acting like a kind of do it yourself, completely random free Kriegspiel, mass chaotic, non-organized, multi-purpose, free range, like random tables you know what I mean? Sans organized numeric assignments, if that makes sense, which it doesn't. So we're going to be coming at this session by saying, being honest about what the Firepit system has, what you're going to have to bring to it, either with your own gray matter, as far as improvised narrative improvisation at the time of play, or what you'll have to bring as far as either, random tables to work with, and to see whether that suits you, or doesn't suit you, and really basically, to come at it from my perspective. And I will be kind of going over some stuff I went over in the first video, but hopefully in a way in the second pass that's more truncated, um, so it's easier to digest, and hopefully people watch it. But then again, like all TTRPG content on YouTube, and certainly like all TTRPG content on my channel, if it was if it's about controversy or something to do with cultural battles between the woke and anti-woke, or someone accusation of someone doing something horrendous, the views would be fantastic. And if it's actually anything that's actually germane to the hobby or the experience of either solo RPG or any aspect of actually playing the game, the views will be terrible, because everybody is absolutely mature adults that are interested in the actual hobby of TTRPG playing, and not little school children that are just interested in high school rumors, right? Don't blame the algorithm. Don't blame clickbait. Blame yourself for participating in it. Blame yourself for watching YouTube right now, right? Instead of reading a book about TTRPGs. None of this is necessary. Also, please, for the love of Jeff, stop buying TTRPG books. It is an easy bet. It is an easy bet to know that you have enough TTRPG books. There is no new information that is going to be written about. We say hello to Tim Frey in the live chat. There's no new information. It's all rolling 2d6 or 1d6 to figure out yes, no, oracles, or some sort of D100. It's all this information is available free on the internet, or free all around you at the library or whatever. It's all available for free. You do not need to buy anything. The only reason you're buying things is to do with bizarre, ingrained consumer habitual habits that we need to break. They do not serve us. They do not serve us well. And we're also helping to foster these false beliefs in our fellow human beings, these notions that they're going to somehow escape the rat race and be able to make a living writing, bullshit words that nobody needs or wants, which we shouldn't encourage either. Stop buying stupid things that you don't need. Okay? And I'm telling all the creatives in the world, in 2025, due to the amount of creative activity that's been going on in the human race, and due to the fact that, thanks to magnetic tape and vinyl and celluloid film, that these things no longer go away but are preserved forever, the actual value of your creative output is actually it's de minimis. And I'm not saying that to be cruel. I'm saying that because it's an ascertainable fact. You're not writing literature. If you are doing anything in the genre, in anything that could be resembled or defined as genre work, genre fiction, genre art, whatever, you are you're just like an artisan. You're just a craftsperson, and there's just, with the amount of billions of people we have on planet Earth, we've reached a point. We are ants. We're not beautiful little amazing snow flakes loved by some sort of, amazing thing in the heavens. Okay? The time has come to do things with our time that are of value to other human beings. And your little heavy metal doodles are of no value to anybody. Stop it. I mean, for fun. You could do it for fun. But stop fooling yourself. Stop bullshitting yourself. You're not doing it for a living. The game is officially over. Having said that, we can do amazing things for fun and entertainment. We can sing songs around the fire pit, and we can play games. To that end, we can figure out how to do what I did. We say hello to Golden Coin 100, both here on Twitch and on the wonderful Tubes of You. Thank you, Golden Coin 100, for showing your love and support on both forums. We thank you. And I apologize. I know I can come off sometimes as a bit of a curmudgeon and a bit of a letdown, but it's important, I think, to be honest. You know, and to, to not yes people. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And I really want to emphasize, it's not that I'm saying that your work isn't good or doesn't have value in the sense of, like, that it's, they're not pretty pictures or whatever. So I'm just trying to be realistic about, like, the number of, like, it's a sliding scale, and there are too many people. It's just, you don't have anything. You don't matter. Anyway, let's go and move on. Okay, anyway, so look, here we go. I'm trying to do. We're not going to overthink the order in which to do things. We're just going to do things. So we've got two things we want to introduce. We want to introduce the fire pit system. We want to talk about that, and we want to talk about how I used it, the things that I put into it, and I feel like I'm hitting some sort of weird loop. So the best way to do that, to cure that loop, is to just move on to the thing. So let's look at the fire pit first. Oh God. So this is the fire pit from Grey Army Gaming. All praise onto thee. And there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about in brief. Last time I didn't do the video so much as a review, but this video I want to come into it a little bit more on that point, and just talk about a couple of things. Um, the thing about the Fire Pit ultra minimalist solo RPG that struck me as really, really great for me was really the utility for me. I have this process in my solo RPG play of cultivating from the media that I consume. Um, the the items that I use in my solo play. I am less attracted to the concept of getting a RPG book with a list of items and a list of character traits and a list of skills and tools and using that than I am in looking at periods of time, 1997, 2001, and trying to look at exemplar media of that time, looking at movies, looking at TV shows, reading books, looking at comic books from a particular year, and seeing a thing, a person, a place, a thing, an object, a moment, a joke, a line, a quintessential thing, and capturing that. And though it's a more painstaking process, though it's a more slow and exacting process than being able to just refer to a table of items or a table of race or species types or monster classifications, I end up with a grab bag of chronologically specific things. And part of my whole solo RPG mentality is wanting to go back to particular spaces in time and having those times, those spaces be have an air of authenticity bolstered by the fact that they are made up of entirely of pieces that are from that period of time. I used to be very, very anal and OCD about having things always be from the same year, but I'm getting better. And in this playthrough, we're going to look at and see that I took things from various different TV shows that were not all from the same year, but were from around the same period of time, all from kind of right before September 11th. Something from 1999, some things from 2000, 2001, but all from around this kind of early pre-millennium millennium phase. And so it all will bring us to that era or energy. At least that's the mindset, that's the idea. So I've been doing this for a long time. So what I would end up doing is I would end up enjoying this process immensely of making these spells, grabbing this information, grabbing these data points from these various movies and TV shows and whatnot that I would watch and read and consume. But the actual focusing them into a playable experience or putting them, matching them up to game systems, that was always a more difficult thing. And so my solo gaming would oftentimes be a lot more theoretical and intellectual than executable. But when I saw the Fire Pit by Matthew from Great Army Gaming, I immediately thought to myself, this who, what, where, when, why, how, faux, structure, and framework, I immediately grokked that this was a framework that I could instantly slide these notes, these, I call them spells, that I've been making and taking from the past and put them in to create these succinct solo RPG spaces. I normally am very anal about matching time periods to gaming systems. So, for example, if I was playing with material from 2000, 1999, I might be very, very desirous to match them with game mechanics from 3.0 D&D that came out in the year 2000. But like I said, as time has gone on and I've become flexible and have had experience running my own solo RPG experiences, you learn about what ideas you have that are theoretical. You also work with professional mental health therapists about things like OCD and obsessive compulsive, you know what I mean? About, well, why are you doing that? And, wouldn't it be more fun if you just relaxed and, um, if you're not actually traveling through time, maybe you could just, chill out on that aspect of it. Hold on one second. I think I need to blow my nose. Oh my God, my kingdom for sausage. Wait, hold on. This has been one of those crazy things. I gotta tell you something, folks. Oh, here we go. This is like bizarre. Like at one point, this office was like overflowing with like tissues, napkins, paper towels, and then at one point it was like there was like a dearth of them. I don't know what the heck happened. Anyway, get that. So, where was I? Nowhere. Um, so yeah, so I immediately saw that these things could be put together in this framework. That was the missing piece was framework. So I was like, Kalu Kalay. I really like this framework, and I really think that this is gonna work for me. So, and I did. I had a wonderful experience. I came up with, um, at the time that I discovered the the fire pit system. I had been at that very moment. I had been watching Cowboy Bebop, so I finished taking notes. I had 27 lines of notes from Cowboy Bebop. Then I also had 36 lines of notes that I took from uh, the second episode of the first season of the UK version of The Office. So I had something from 1999, I had something from 2001, but I felt like I needed, the rule of threes. I needed a third thing to kind of get the process underway and to do something with the fire pit. I wanted to do something like gather specific things for the fire pit, and I had this idea for this kind of pre-millennium tension kind of thing because I had something from 1999. I had something from I knew that episode of The Office was from before 9/11. It was actually I think it was actually oh god, it's like almost exactly like 2 months before 9/11 is is when that episode aired. But whatever. So I ended up settling on Donnie Darko for our third piece, and then to fill out the pages, I also have an episode of Trigun here from 1998, and a little bit of One Piece, one episode of One Piece from 2001. So we've got some additional materials to work with, even after we filled out our who, what, where, when, why, how, and faux, which we got. Our who is Dick Donnie at the dinner table. That was taken from Donnie Darko from 2001. Our what, our character's goal is a man in need of arm repairs. We got that from Cowboy Bebop from 1999. And you see, like the who, we got, because we don't just have a name, we've got additional information that just came from, we didn't do it with intentionality. When we're watching the show, we see something, and we'll get to how we do the spells. Um, a man in need of arm repairs. We said this could be a person that needs actually cybernetics, or it could be a person who just needs a gun repaired. Where? We're at the Slough trading estate. That's from The Office, 2001. When? With the story time period, it's April 15th, 1998. That was the original air date of the episode of Trigon. Why? What's the character's motivation? Tina. That came from an episode of Family Guy from 2001. How? Means of achieving the goal. Do you mean God's master plan? That's from Donnie Darko in 2001. We don't know how we're going to do it. Foe, character's opposition. That assassin from the syndicate. That again came from Cowboy Bebop 1999. So we took all these things, these little lines from these different, disparate, different intellectual properties, these different shows, but we pulled together and we have a little bit of a story. Who are we? We're Dick Donnie at the dinner table. We took from that the dinner table is like where he does his work. It's like his operating table. And what's he looking for? Needs a man in need of arm repairs. But he's not in need of arm repairs. He needs someone in need of arm repairs, meaning he needs someone to work on. So he needs to do a job. He needs to do a gig where he's in the Slough trading estate. It's like hiding out there. You know what I mean? It's where you got to do work. When? It's April 15th, 1998. But we were talking about cybernetics. It's like an alternative past future history where it's, they had cybernetics in 1998 or whatever. And why is he doing it? He's doing, some people say that there's a woman to blame. He's doing it for a gal. All the story in the book, right? And how? How is he going to find a gig? How is he going to find someone that he can work on? He's got no idea. Do you mean God's master plan? He's got no idea. And the foe, that assassin from the syndicate, he's like a marked man. I don't know if he owes some money, he owes something or something, but that's it. So that's what we have. That's what we got from the seven stones is that we got just a framework to put these elements into, but now we got a story. But how do you run the story? Well, that's the fire. That's this simple D6 mechanic. Now, here's the thing I got to tell you something. I like Matthew and I like his enthusiasm. Bit too enthusiastic. Like I said, the guy seems like a teacher. He seems like a young teacher. He still thinks he's going to reach the kids. You're not going to reach the kids, Matthew. And I see that wedding ring. 50% of marriages end in divorce. Mine did. I got back together with the gal because I'm an idiot, right? I paid for the divorce, and then I got back together with the gal. Now I'm paying for the additions on the house so I can move back in with the chick, right? I'm stupid. Guess what? There's a 50% chance that you're going to get stupid too, fucker. Thanks for designing the game. It's bringing me a lot of pleasure. All I want to do is bring you heartache and ennui and let you know that your enthusiasm probably is not going to save you. The enthusiastic get colon cancer all the time. I don't know why I said that, Matthew. I apologize. Listen, Matthew, I got a lot of problems. You know what I mean? Matthew, are you a Christian? If you are, feel free to pray for me. Some people find that helps. My brother certainly does. Listen, I kid. It doesn't help him at all. Here's the thing, Matthew. So when it comes to D6 mechanics, a lot of people use a TD6 mechanic because they think it has some sort of what's known as a bell curve, which apparently will have a 7 as being average. And so if you look at a lot of like D6 mechanics or like that try and do this yes no thing, they'll weight it so that the average result on a 2D6 does something. You don't. You just have a D6 and then you roll 2D6. And if you've got advantage, you take the higher number, which is good. And if you got disadvantage, you take the lower number one. I don't know how that works regarding the probability, but my thinking is that it really doesn't do anything. And that means that the fire for your system is still like the core mechanic is going to end up being a little bit savage, meaning that because you're using, especially if a person is not rolling with advantage or disadvantage, there's an equal probability on a roll of 1d6. There's an equal probability that a person's going to get a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. That's why a lot of RPGs use a 2d6 mechanic and not just a 1d6 mechanic, because they want that bell curve rather than just the probability that you'll get a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6, right? Because the way that you have it, if I'm using no additional core mechanic and I'm just saying that the only mechanic that we're going to use in this game is the fire pit, and the fire pit says that you're going to get one of 6 possible outcomes on a question, either no and, which is an extreme failure, or at the top end an extreme yes, and then variance in between. If you're not rolling with advantage or disadvantage, there's an equal probability that you're going to get any of those results. Meaning that if we're saying that the ultimate penalty is, say, death, that means that every time that a person rolls where there's a likelihood of death, there's an equal chance that they're going to die. That's kind of that could be intense. Now, you could argue that there's a chance that they're going to always have advantage or disadvantage, but if a person has disadvantage, that means that the weight that they're going to possibly face death is like actually exponentially increased. I don't know. I'm not that great at math, and I'm not that, but I just know that you're the relying on the single D6 might end up being a little bit fricazy, and that's why certain systems like the 24x systems like don't just use um, the D6 weighted equal probability on each step of the ladder, because you don't want it to be equal probability that these extreme things happen as these non-extreme things happen, or maybe you do, or maybe it's like catch as catch can, and that's a feature, not a bug. I haven't played it out. We're gonna see what happens when the rubber hits the road. I'm not opposed to swinging mechanics. I'm not opposed to your mechanic being like the Dark Souls of solo RPGs, but it's a possibility of intensity. And like I said, you have the in execution where we're at now is where I kind of left us off last time and kind of left us kind of at speed was and kind of like was wrapping up kind of quickly was, and I just want to say that in my effort to kind of keep things tight, I think I'm 90% there, and I'm at 35 minutes. So I managed to keep it like half the time, but still, it's still going to be a trim, possibly 50-minute video. God damn it! Gotta keep it, gotta gotta get tighter, always tighter, always tighter. Listen, we would end up either rolling or selecting off of these lists, which are still the lists that I got the original entries from for our encounters. And our encounters would either be classified as being either our potential customer, our man or woman in need of arm repairs, a lead, right? A potential lead towards the customer, an independent person, place, or thing, like an object we could pick up, or just a location where something could happen, or the assassin or an agent of the assassin. So, in each of those four different kind of scenarios, one of those scenarios, the person, place, or thing, like the independent person, place, or thing, we might not need to roll at all. But if we encounter the potential customer, we can. This is leading into my arguments about why we don't need any other mechanics. We don't need any other rule system. We can just use the D6 fire mechanic, rolling with advantage or disadvantage, situation or context indicating, to resolve everything and figure out what happens in our solo game. We don't need health points. We don't need anything else. We don't need tools. We don't need items. We just, other than figuring out if we pick up something, whether or not it gives us advantage or disadvantage in upcoming scenarios. Because it'll play out like this: the potential customer. Okay, you meet a potential customer and you're going to have a discussion. You're going to have a negotiation. And then you can, if there's a question about whether or not the deal is made and the deal goes down, you roll advantage or disadvantage, situation or context allowing. Now, without a DM, you're on the honor system and you have to be honest with yourself as a solo player about whether or not you're cheesing it. Look, if you're playing a solo game book, if you want to do the four finger bookmark, if you want to yourself, cheat yourself, right? We say hello to Vanessa in the live chat. We have females in the live chat, look, folks. We have females in the live chat. You don't get that everywhere. Thank you. Thank you for sending the love. You are not still blocked. You are not still blocked. I don't think you were ever blocked here. It's the trust me, you're not. Please. There you go. There you go. There you go. What you call it? There you go. Come for CW Chandler. Stay for the live chat. There you go. I gain babies. Not in my store, you don't. There you go. Hey, you can't make those videos anymore. I wish they all could be California girls. I think. Or don't. Well, anyway, forget it. I'm distracted. Anyway, folks, so you'd roll and you'd see whether or not you make the deal or you don't make the deal. The deal goes south and the deal goes on. Same thing with if you get a potential lead. Now, look, if you roll and the potential lead goes no and extreme failure, well, what's context allowing is that if you have a potential lead and you get an extreme failure, I don't think that's not just it the lead doesn't go anywhere. I think that's also you got to worry that there might be a tip off to the assassin or the assassin's hired goons. Hired goons, right? Now, I'm not going to kill myself hunting around on the tables looking for things. I'm going to be providing a lot of this information with my brain. Now, when it comes to solo RPG play, and whether or not you like it or loathe it, it's not going to be for everybody. Some kids of today have no problem when you put them in front of a game from back in the day and you explain to them that this game is similar to Skyrim or similar to uh, Elden Ring, but because it came out in 1980, 1990, whatever, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that, it doesn't have the other thing. You got to do that stuff yourself. Some kids have no problem with that. And some kids, it's over, game over. What? They're not interested. They're not interested. There's a reason, look, there's some people that they want, they're going to feel like they're cheating if the information just pops in their head. They need to roll on the D100 table because if they don't run on the random table and get the random answer, if they just come up with it themselves, they feel like that can't possibly be the answer. They just came up with it themselves. And there's some people that are going to have no problem with that. There you go. CW is all about the world of imagination. I'm here for it. Thank you. Thank you for being here for it. So I have no problem with the system as it is, and I have no problem with the stripped down nature of it. I find it rewarding. Your results may vary. What I think is the greatest thing about it is this, is what I would take away from it personally is this. I think the D6 system that he's got for the resolution, I think there are plenty of these tables around. If you enter in yes, no, D6 Oracle tables, you're going to find 10,000 of them. 99% of them are almost identical to each other in almost every respect. So you can swap them out and find the one that you think hits you, gives you the best results. Whether you're going to be able to work with the 7 stones with just a yes no oracle, or whether you're going to need a yes no oracle, and then some things like there's a popular one called like into like alone in the odd. I think it's one for that's popular for into the odd system. It's really for anything, but it's got a lot of these things will have like a D6, like a kind of a yes no oracle, but they'll also have a narrative oracle, which will like usually sometimes work with like two random words juxtaposed against each other, you know, to give you, so you'll have things for yes no answers, and then things that are for like more abstract things to give you a kind of a prompt to work with. But at a certain point, you'll always be kind of out there. And the advice from me is always be like, you're going to be out there, you're going to get something. Don't worry about it. There's no right and wrong. Keep the game flowing. Don't worry about taking exhaustive notes, because you're not going to go over these notes again. You're not. Everyone acts as with the biggest problem with solo play. The number one problem for solo players is the feeling the need, like you need to record everything down, like you're a journalist that is going to need to come down and remember things down. You're not going to come back down to these things. No one's going to review these notes. You're not going to review these notes. No one gives a shit about your player character. No one gives a damn about these adventures. No one's going to read your journal. You're not going to read these journals ever again. You're not. I don't even think people need to keep notes. If more than a couple of days have elapsed between one gameplay session and another, start another game. You're probably not going to play. You're probably not going to come back to that session. You're not. Just keep experiencing, keep on having joy, and stop buying more books. Just stop buying more books. Read the ones you have. That's my advice. Simple. Play more, buy less. Read more, buy less. Do everything else except buy things. And talk to more people in public, in person. Make more experiences with people in the real world. And find your assumptions. Remember, they wrote these games like Dungeons and Dragons. They had things like combat rules and all these things and statistics and hit points and whatever. And then people just assume that role playing games need to have this and need to have that, and need to have this element and that element. And this is the way you did this, or this is the way you did that. All assumptions. Most people don't know what they're talking about because most people never questioned why things were the way they were or why they were doing what they were doing. And most people are just parroting lines that they heard somewhere before by someone else. They're just repeating because they think they're the things to repeat. And the minute people start saying something else, they'll start saying something else too. That's my take on it, and I'm sticking to it. 47 minutes in, shaved a little bit of time off of it. Could shave more time off of it. I got to figure out how. And I didn't have the how to do the spells, but yeah, keep it tighter. Who knows? We're figuring it out. From the Egyptian Tarot from 2003. Ah, I say as if I knew what it was. I feel like I don't really know this one. Seven of Pentacles. Hashtag no new music. There are new spells. The one thing I will disagree with it. Seven of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles. Seven of Cups I'd be prepared for. Seven of Cups I know like the back of my hand. But Seven of Pentacles I'm having a hard time visualizing with the Egyptian Tarot without the main cards right in front of me. But the minute I think about it, I'll think about it. Recuperation, exchange, gain. Once I see the regular card, I'll get it. There's no shame in my game. Oh yeah, these ones, the Pentacles sometimes are like, this is the Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles and the Nine of Pentacles for me are always like those cards. There's certain cards like they kind of blend together. They're like almost like very similar, like the Two of Wands and the Three of Wands always do that to me. They're almost like the exact same card to me in the same, like a very same way. And in meaning the Seven of Pentacles and the Nine of Pentacles always like end up kind of like going together, except the Seven of Pentacles in the standard deck is like a dude, and he's like waiting. So I get it. I can dig it. Let me read it again from the Egyptian Tarot: recuperation, exchange, gain. I can dig it. I can dig it. Whenever I see the sevens for numerological perspective, I always think of like a god number, but like a god, like a very very anthropomorphic god, like a Zeus, or very very in the flesh Yahweh. You know what I mean? Very human, very very human foible. So like a seven is very powerful, but still so subject to like ego games and stuff. But I could dig it. You know what I mean? So seven, so the pentacles, it's like of the world, of material nature. So very powerful, but still subject to, you know, the problems of the world. So you got to take care of ourselves. You know what I mean? Got to heal up. So like that, I'm like talking about trying to get better, you know, but still we're coming in at 51 minutes and 25 seconds. Maybe it's just like, maybe I shouldn't like fight it. Maybe I should just be aware of the fact that like my videos are not going to be 20 minutes long. My videos are going to be as long as they are. Do you know what I mean? It's just it's what's up. I gotta be me. Do you know what I mean? It's what's up. Encourage people to watch my videos to the end. Encourage people to read more books than they buy. Encourage people to play more games than they purchase. Encourage the people. Be of the people. Be one with the people. Go tell Matt of Grey Army Gaming, links in the description box below, that I've been covering his game. And then go tell him to go F himself. No, I'm kidding. Whores, love, or fat? What's not to love? Reconciliation, recapitulation hour, spelling hour, pronunciation hour, man of the hour, imagination hour. Okay, folks, I love you. I love you. I love you. If nobody told you they loved you today, somebody just did. That somebody's CW chanter. Lie to the people. Tell them it's all about controversy at Watsy. Tell people that the rumors are true, that there's a fire sale at Pazio, and that everyone's the victim. And maybe then the views will pick up and improve. I guess. And until next time, be well. Okay? There you go. And don't forget, I'm also on Twitch. So there's that. I got that going for me. I'm also on Patreon. Feel free to support me on Patreon. No one else does. Okay? Peace.